In the battlefield of Kurukshetra, surrounded by clashing chariots, roaring conchis, trembling hearts, and dust-stained warriors, Lord Krishna did not merely instruct a warrior, he revealed a path, a way of living that transcended war, victory, or defeat. A way of seeing action not as bondage, but as liberation. This path was Karmyog, the yoga of action, a philosophy that turned the battlefield into a spiritual classroom and a reluctant prince into an awakened soul. The essence of Karmyog is simple, yet revolutionary. Act, but without attachment. Perform your duties, but let go of the desire for results. Be engaged in the world, but not entangled by it. Work not for rewards, but out of dharma, out of the deeper inner calling that is aligned with righteousness. This teaching, given by Krishna to Arjuna, has not only impacted one man or one war, it has shaped the consciousness of seekers for centuries. Karmyog is not passive. It is not the surrender of effort. It is the surrender of ego. Krishna does not ask Arjuna to drop his weapons and walk away. He does not preach renunciation of responsibility. In fact, he urges him to fight, not out of anger, not out of greed, but out of clarity and duty. Karmyog is not about withdrawal from life. It is about full participation, with a heart that is unattached and a mind that is centered. At the heart of Karmyog lies a paradox: to act with full intensity, yet not be consumed by the outcome. In this lies its power, because desire for the fruits of action leads to anxiety, restlessness, fear, and disappointment. When success comes, the ego inflates. When failure arrives, the spirit deflates. But when you act purely because it is your nature to act, because it is the right thing to do, then you are free. You are no longer a slave to results. You are no longer tossed around by praise or blame. Krishna's Karmyog is not a call to inaction, nor is it an invitation to blind action. It is conscious action, action performed with awareness, with presence, with inner balance. It is doing what must be done without being emotionally hijacked by hopes and fears. It is a path that turns everyday life into spiritual practice, not by escaping the world, but by transforming the way we move through it. The impact of Karmyog on the human psyche is profound. When one embraces this path, stress begins to dissolve, because stress arises from the attachment to outcomes, the fear of failure, the desire to control what is fundamentally uncontrollable. Karmyog liberates you from this illusion. It teaches you that your control ends at effort. What unfolds afterward is not yours to own. This realization brings peace. It brings lightness to the heaviest of burdens. Krishna's teaching also dismantles the ego. The ego always acts for identity, for proving, for possessing, for winning. But Karmyog acts for dharma, and dharma is not about self-image. It is about truth. When you follow Karmyog, you stop asking, "What will I get?" and start asking, "What is right?" That shift in question changes everything. It realigns your life from ambition to purpose, from craving to contribution, from self-obsession to self-awareness. Through Karmyog, Krishna offered a way to remain rooted in the storm. In war or in peace, in victory or defeat, the Karmyogi remains steady, because his inner anchor is not the world's response, it is his own intention. When Arjuna was confused, trembling, overwhelmed by emotion, Krishna's message was not just about action, it was about stillness within action, about doing what is necessary with a mind that is still and a soul that is free. This teaching is not just relevant on the battlefield, it is relevant in our modern world of constant striving, endless comparisons, and deep anxiety. In a world where people are conditioned to chase success, To measure life by outcomes, Krishna's wisdom is a balm. It reminds us that the quality of our action matters more than the quantity of our achievement. That fulfillment comes not from applause but from alignment. Karmyog transforms relationships as well. When you serve others without expecting gratitude, you experience love that is unconditional. When you help without seeking credit, your heart expands. When you lead without needing validation, your presence becomes powerful. Because detachment does not mean indifference, it means freedom from neediness. It means your actions are expressions of your being, not strategies for approval. In society, the impact of Karmyog could be revolutionary. Imagine a world where people work not just for salary, but for service, where leaders act not for legacy, but for upliftment, where teachers teach for love of wisdom, not for titles, where soldiers fight for peace, not for pride. This is not a utopia. It is a world made possible when individuals begin to live the principles of Karmyog. Karmyog is not a quick fix. It is not a motivational slogan. It is a lifelong practice. It requires vigilance, inner work, honesty, and surrender. It demands that you examine your motives again and again, that you learn to listen to the silent voice of Dharma beneath the noise of desire, that you trust the process even when the outcome is uncertain. Krishna did not guarantee Arjuna a victory. He gave him wisdom, because wisdom is more valuable than outcomes. Victories come and go, situations rise and fall, but the one who acts from inner clarity, who remains centered in selfless action, he becomes unshakable. He becomes a torch in the darkness, not just for himself, but for others. And yet Karmyog is not rigid. It flows. It adapts. It listens to the moment. It does not cling to fixed rules, but honors the spirit of truth. Krishna himself broke social norms and strategies when Dharma demanded it. Because Karmyog is not about dogma, it is about awareness. It is about knowing when to act, when to step back, when to speak, and when to be silent. The inner shift that Karmyog brings is subtle but monumental. You begin to feel free in the midst of responsibility. You begin to enjoy action, not as pressure, but as expression. You begin to give your best, not because of greed, but because it is your nature. This freedom gives birth to a strange and beautiful joy, a joy that is independent of outcome, a joy that is stable, calm, radiant. The Gita does not end with a miracle. It ends with Arjuna picking up his bow. Not because the war has changed, but because he has changed. He is no longer acting out of confusion, fear, or ego. He is acting out of understanding. He has become a Karmyogi, not someone who escapes duty, but someone who fulfills it with grace. In this way, Krishna's Karmyog is not just a teaching, it is a transmission, a call to rise, a call to act not for ego, but for essence, a reminder that your liberation lies not beyond the world, but within it, that in the very heart of your responsibilities your freedom awaits, not when you control everything, but when you let go of control and act with full presence. And in this presence, even the simplest act becomes sacred. Even the smallest gesture becomes divine, because the one who acts with full sincerity, without clinging to results, without being broken by failure or blinded by success, that one walks the highest path. That one knows the secret of Krishna's smile. That one, through Karmyog, touches the eternal. But this path is not easy. The ego resists it with every breath. It wants recognition. It wants reward, it wants control, and when things don't go as planned, it panics, it protests, it clings. That is why Karmyog is not a one-time decision. It is a daily return, a daily remembrance. You don't become a Karmyogi once and for all. You become one again and again, Each time you choose awareness over impulse, sincerity over strategy, and truth over personal gain. There are moments in life when you will be tested, not by enemies, but by your own doubts. You may give your best and still face failure. You may speak truth and still be misunderstood. You may love deeply and still face abandonment. In those moments, Karmyog does not offer comfort. It offers clarity. It does not shield you from pain, but it gives meaning to your pain. It teaches you that your role is not to control life, but to participate in it consciously, courageously, and compassionately. This is the highest kind of strength, not the strength to conquer others, but the strength to master oneself, to keep walking even when the path disappears, to keep giving even when the world turns its back, to act not because the world is watching, but because your soul is awake. This is the power that Krishna awakened in Arjuna. Not just the power to fight, but the power to know why you fight, the power to choose action over reaction and purpose over panic. Look around. Today's world is full of action, yet devoid of direction, full of busyness, but lacking stillness. We chase deadlines, likes, promotions, and attention. We call it ambition, but often it is just restlessness wearing a mask. Karmyog asks a deeper question. Are you doing this because it is right or because you are afraid to stop? It invites you to peel away the false layers of duty imposed by society and reconnect with the sacred responsibility born from within. In the realm of relationships too, Karmyog brings revolution. Most conflicts arise from unmet expectations, hidden hopes for reciprocation, appreciation, or change. But when you love as a Karmyogi, you free the other person from your grip. You give not to receive, but because love is your truth. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because peace is your nature. This is not weakness. It is supreme strength. The strength of a heart that no longer needs to conquer to feel complete. In careers and creativity, this wisdom is gold. The artist who creates without craving applause produces work that is pure. The teacher who teaches without chasing validation touches lives more deeply. The doctor who heals for the love of healing becomes a light. The leader who leads without ego becomes a force of change. When you act in alignment with your dharma, your work becomes meditation. Your success becomes silent. Your fulfillment becomes effortless. Even in the face of injustice, Karmyog gives direction. It does not promote passivity. Krishna never said, "Let the wrong win." He said, "Let your action be rooted in truth." The fight for justice, when done without hatred, becomes sacred. The protest against evil, when free from personal vengeance, becomes divine. A Karmyogi does not fight against people. He fights for dharma. This distinction is subtle, but it is what separates destruction from transformation. And as you walk this path, something remarkable begins to happen within. Your mind quiets down, your heart expands, your energy feels lighter. You no longer need to prove anything. You no longer fear failure because you know that your value does not lie in outcomes. It lies in effort aligned with truth. You stop oscillating between highs and lows and find a deeper rhythm, calm, consistent, clear. This is the hidden treasure of Karmyog. Not success as the world defines it, but freedom as the soul longs for it. And once tasted, no external reward can compare. You may still strive, but your striving is serene. You may still work hard, but your work flows from joy, not pressure. You may still dream, but your dreams do not imprison you. They guide you. When Krishna shared this truth with Arjuna, he was not imposing a belief. He was offering a mirror to see clearly, beyond the fog of emotion and noise of fear. And in seeing clearly, Arjuna found his strength. The same strength lives within us. Every moment gives us a chance to practice Karmyog, to pause before reacting, to choose awareness over autopilot, to give our best and let go of the rest. And this is where the spiritual meets the practical. This is where ancient wisdom becomes modern medicine. In workplaces, families, friendships, and even inner battles, the principles of Karmyog offer clarity, healing, and grace. They remind us that no act is too small, no moment too ordinary to be infused with purpose and presence. A smile given without expectation, a task done without complaint, a truth spoken without fear. These are not minor things. These are the seeds of transformation. In the end, Karmyog is not about doing more. It is about being more aware, more sincere, more anchored. It does not take you away from life. It brings you back to it fully, wholeheartedly. And in doing so, it reveals a truth that sages have known for ages, that liberation is not a place you reach, it is a state you awaken within. So act, not for the world's applause, but because your soul must express. Serve, not for recognition, but because love is your natural state. Give, not because you'll get something back, but because it is your joy to give. Let your life become your offering. Let your actions become your worship. And let Krishna's whisper echo in your heart, not as a command, but as a quiet invitation. Do your duty and do it well. Then let go and smile. For in that smile lies the secret, the smile of the one who has mastered action, the one who lives freely in a world full of noise, the one who knows that the battlefield was never outside, it was always within. And the real victory, it was never about defeating others, it was about conquering oneself.